So the Australian government has agreed to pay a whopping $70 million to asylum seekers on Manus Island.
It's a sum that whops.
It does whop.
Yes.
And it's basically for the physical and mental harm that they have suffered as a result of the government's negligence. Apparently it's the largest human rights payout in Australia. And of course, as one would expect from one of our favourites, Peter Dutton, he's come out and blamed Labor.
Yeah, he's
all
crept
Labor's
out of
fault.
his drain. He's like, it's your fault!
It's all your fault.
Yeah.
So what he said in his press release, at least parts of it, is this. He says Labor imposed this cost on Australians when it handed control of the nation's borders to criminal people smuggling syndicates, and it's Labor that has to come out and apologise to the Australian people for their failure at the border.
You've got to rate getting onto the front foot like that, though.
Talk about spin. I mean, this is a classic example of political spin and absolute bullshit, frankly.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I also noticed that the statement said, this is not an admission of guilt. So I don't know what that is. Just a $70 million present. Look, we're not admitting anything, but here's $70 million for what may or may not have allegedly happened to you on fucking Hell Island. You know. In a way, Dutton is Dutton. He does kind of have this is my biggest gripe with the asylum seeker issue, is you do kind of have bipartisan support for this whole shitty mess. So, you know, he's not totally like completely lying when he says this is partly Labor's fault, but on the other hand, you know, clearly a ridiculous statement.
Well, the case concerned asylum seekers on the island from 2012 to 2016. Most of those people would still be there.
Yeah.
And of course, the Liberals came into power in 2013.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of the time, not Dutton, but Morrison and he have been responsible for the detention centres, essentially.
Yeah.
So I just, what I thought is that, I mean, the press release is interesting for a number of reasons. It doesn't at all talk about what the case was about, at all. You know, it was about the mistreatment of asylum seekers. Doesn't talk about that. Not relevant.
Getting them to hospitals and,
not
you know,
relevant.
kind of letting things devolve into riots.
That's right.
And,
none of that.
Yeah.
But, you know, and there's still a question, of course, about what's going to happen to the people on the island. If they're not taken by the US in the US swap deal. How many
people is this split among?
I think it's about 1,900.
Okay, right. So I'm thinking, you know, if I was there, because I heard one of the guys involved in the action said, this is the happiest day I've ever had since I've been here. And I'm like, fuck yeah, payday, dude. So what I would do is I would form a consortium. Then I'd start massively donating to the Liberal Party, right? Maybe snap up some property in Sydney.
Yeah, that's an idea.
Make a few down payments. Pretty soon you're going to have a visa and it's all hunky-dory.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I didn't even think about that. What a great idea.
Well, man, what the fuck are you going to do with $70 million on Manus Island?
I suppose that's right. Well, that's what I was thinking. What's going to happen to these people still? I mean, if they don't get taken in by the US, who knows what's going to happen to them? No one knows. Dutton hasn't got a solution, and yet he's still blaming Labor.
He's just a savage dingbat,
I just
really.
think, you know, there were some interesting comments on Twitter about this. One tweet in particular stays in my mind, which was to this effect, that if you know, Dutton was a manager in a private corporation and was basically responsible for this sort of a payout, he would lose his job. But it's highly unlikely that that's going to happen. I mean, he'll probably be promoted.
Yeah, and he's never been in that position because formerly he worked for the Queensland Police.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's true. But, you know, I just think they've got to give us a break, and I just think that he's got to grow up and take some responsibility. That's frankly how I feel about Peter Dutton.
Die waiting for that.
I will.
You'll feel like a refugee on Manus Island.
I probably will.
Yeah.
We'll wrap up on this, but there are some bigger questions about why it is that the government settled, and this is a point that is developed in quite a lot of detail by the filmmaker Eva Orner and our own guest panellist Stephen Glass in an opinion piece that was today published in The Age, which is this. And their point is that the reason that Dutton settled, or the government settled, is because they wanted to avoid a public hearing of all of the evidence that was going to be brought out and brought to light about what's been happening on the island, because that would have effectively been a royal commission, essentially, into the way in which these people are treated. So effectively this $70 million it's basically hush money, really. So just sort of sweep it under the carpet, pay them $70 million of our tax dollars, and let me be the king of the world.